ask a question. Where can a U.S. citizen turn to get assistance when things happen? Things happen. For example, you lose your passport, you lose your money, you get stopped by the authorities, you're a victim of crime. Where can you turn for help? San Miguel U.S. Consular Agency's primary purpose is to assist American citizens who travel or live in Mexico. Today, the Midday Rotary Club again welcomes Erika Montes. She is the official representative of the U.S. Consular Agency. She serves the U.S. expat community by protecting their interests, whether they're temporarily or permanently residing in Mexico. She oversees the issuance of passports and visas and other diplomatic functions. Erika began working in the Consular Agency in July of 2019. She previously worked in the U.S. Embassy Consular Service, and at the embassy, she worked in the Passport and Special Customs Service units. She's originally from Chiapas, Mexico, and became a naturalized citizen in July of 2012. She lived in the Pacific Northwest for 10 years. Erika, welcome again, and please help our audience understand your services.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me once again to see you, and I'm very excited that this is the first time that I'm actually here in person. The past couple of years have been virtually over Zoom, and it's very touching to actually see your faces and get to know you, and if I see you out in town, I can say hello and whatnot. All right, well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Erika. I am the consular agent. I've been here for 3 years. I love it. And today I would like to speak about a few things, well, actually about the services that we have available at the Consular Agency. I will try to be brief, and the most important thing for me to do is to answer any questions that you may have and let you know how we can help. As some of you know, the services that we offer here are very limited because we're not a full consulate or embassy, but we can definitely put you in touch with whoever you may need to speak or give you some recommendations as to other services that could be available outside of our office. All right, so the first thing I have here on my list is our appointments. So right now we are experiencing a very high demand with our appointments. Our passport appointments are currently available in April. So if you have a passport that's expiring, I would say this year, I would say start making your appointment now. For those of you who have a passport with a validity of 10 years, which is probably most of you, you can also do the renewal by mail. I will talk about that aspect in a few moments. And the other service that we have is for notarial services. So, for example, if you're going through the purchase or sale of a house in the U.S., you can sign before a notary in your office, so that way you don't have to travel to the U.S. If you have any banking transactions, anything where you would need to go see a notary, you can do it with your office. Right now, we have appointments available in December. However, if you have an emergency, a closing date or some type of deadline from your bank, whatnot, send us an email, and then we can try to accommodate an appointment for you. Especially for people who are here in San Miguel, we want to make sure that we're trying to be as flexible as we can. All right, so also we have a new procedure for appointments. So a few months ago, I would say maybe a month or so, we used to schedule appointments manually via email. And right now we have a new appointment system. So now you can go on the website, which is the embassy website, and then do your schedule your own appointment through the website. So that's easier for you, and that's easier for us. We don't have to do a lot of email. However, if you have any questions about your appointment, you need some requirements or anything, you can also feel free to email us with your questions. Okay, so the passport renewal by mail, how does that work? It is very similar as to how it works in the US, Basically, you fill out your application. Your application does have to be filled out through the form filler, and you also make the payment online. I think that's where where we receive a lot of questions, because people want to mail a check like they do in the U.S. So that's not how it works. So you do have to go on the instructions and then do the payment online. That is actually very easy. I did renew my passport that way, and it was very simple. There was no issue with the payment and how they track it to the application. You do need to print your confirmation page for the payment, and that's how they know that your payment has already been made online. You do have to send your application to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. You can also send it to the consulate in Guadalajara. Or Consular Agency here in San Miguel works under the supervision of the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. So when people have questions about something that happened in the consulate in Guadalajara, I am not able to access that information as directly, because my direct supervisors are at the embassy. But anyway, so if you want to renew your passport that way, you do have to send your application with the confirmation page and your passport photo via DHL. And they also have instructions on the website as to how to tell DHL that you're sending your application to the embassy. And you do need to get another way bill so that you can get your passport back, also via DHL. Okay? All right, so emergency services. This is an area where it really depends on the circumstances. There are a lot of times where we're able to provide assistance that may be very beneficial to you, and there are other times where maybe we can just offer information. So that really depends on your situation specifically. For example, if you lost your passport and you're traveling next week, that is not something that we're going to be able to help you, because we don't issue the emergency passports here. The emergency passports are printed and issued at the embassy in Mexico City, and right now, because of high demand, it can take up to 3 weeks for that passport to make it. You may receive it in 1 week, but it can take up to 3 weeks. But let's say your passport expired, or you lost your passport, but you're traveling in January, February, that's great. We can schedule you for an appointment, and then we can help you with that passport, getting your passport before your travel date. But that's something important to keep in mind. We do get a lot of requests of people who are traveling soon. They didn't realize their passport was expired, and unfortunately, you would need to travel to the embassy in Mexico City, or go to another consulate in order to get your new passport. One thing that you can also consider is if you're traveling to the border, like a lot of people travel to Tijuana and then cross via CBX, you can use your expired passport. They're a lot more flexible at the border, but if you're traveling, you're doing an international travel, then by plane, you do need to have your valid passport. We also have people who have passports expire, and then they're traveling, to other parts outside of Mexico, and they want to know if they can travel with an expired passport. That's a no. They will not even let you board the airplane. Okay, so for example, let's say we also have people who are sometimes in vulnerable situations. I know that some of you that I have a closer relationship with have let me know about some people who are in need of anything, who they may be destitute, or they, I don't know, they may be homeless, whatnot. That really depends, again, on the situation of that specific person. We do, unfortunately, especially also with elder people, I know that some of you sometimes are concerned about their well-being or if they're getting the right medical attention, but one important thing to consider is that we can't force someone to go back to the States. So if a person does not want to go back to the States, there's nothing that we can do. I mean, we can talk to them, we can tell them about, the benefits of going back to the States, but ultimately that is their decision. So we've seen some of the situations lately where other folks are concerned about an older person or someone who might be mentally ill. The important thing, if it's a situation of danger where that person can put themselves at risk, would be to report it with the authorities. So either DEEF, if it's an emergency, call 911. We have cases Just to give you an example, a few weeks ago, we worked with a person who is mentally ill, and she did not want to go back to the States, and she was just running around in town, and so I don't know who reported her to DEEF. DEEF went in and they helped her. Eventually, I think she just probably was tired of just being at the DEEF shelter, but she ended up wanting to go back to the States. So once DEEF or any other authority in Mexico, once they are assisting as someone who's a U.S. citizen, they let us know, and then we can work to see how we can help them. And we always want to help, but the important thing to remember is we can provide the service as long as that person wants our service. If that person does not want our service, then there's not much that we can do. But if someone is, again, if you're concerned about someone, the best thing to do is, of course, let us know. But then we will always advise that you contact the local authorities, and then once they are involved, then or services, or we can easily assist that person who's, with the local authorities. Like, for example, they're hospitalized, or they are in a retirement facility, whatever the case might be, it's easier for us to help when there's also the assistance from the local authorities. Okay. All right, so voting overseas. I think it's kind of late for that. We're past the elections. But that it is an important reminder to make sure that if you're voting overseas, which I highly encourage everyone to do that, make sure that you register with the state and where you last lived or where you have a mailing address, and with enough time. I mean, sometimes 6 months is fine. Every state has different deadlines. That's an important thing to remember. And unfortunately, last week we had some people that came to our office and they wanted to vote or they wanted to drop off their ballot, and that's where the deadlines. I know. That's where the deadlines are very important. There are some states that they will accept your ballot as long as it was stamped as received at the embassy. And so that does not happen when we receive it. I mean, we can stamp it, but that's not going to help you. It's going to help when it has the stamp from the embassy that has been received at their mailing room and is going out on the diplomatic pouch. That's the date that's important. Now, some states take that date as the day you voted, as if you would have gone and voted in person. But a lot of states don't accept that. In fact, they want to have your ballot with them sometimes some days before the election. So it is really important that you check directly with the local election office of the local election office, whatever you register, to make sure that you're getting those deadlines right. And then again, I mean, for example, I'm registered to vote in Texas, and as soon as I get my ballot, I send it, because it's better be safe than sorry. So don't wait. I know that most of you probably are fine, but if you in your communities, any other U.S. citizens that you may know, it is important to let them know about the situation. And again, I don't want to see people coming in the date of the election to our office, because it's already too late. Okay, so the Mexico Travel Advisory. I don't know how many of you know about the travel advisory. It is available on the State Department website, and it is actually really good. It gives you information specific to every state, and especially if you're considering traveling during the holidays, I would suggest that you highly review that information that's there. For example, here in Guanajuato, it gives you instructions, for example, I am a federal employee. I'm not allowed to go to Celaya, to Salamanca, to Irapuato, and I would never recommend any person, regardless of their citizenship, to travel to those areas unless it is absolutely necessary. But also, if you're considering going to other parts of Mexico, or if you're traveling up the border, driving to the border, then definitely make sure that you take a look at that. It has really good important information, and also it is updated about every 6 months or so. They review it. They also review it whenever there are incidents that could potentially impact. For example, back in August, we did have those incidents in Celaya, South Celaya and south of Celaya. And I know that there were some warnings that were issued specifically because of those incidents. So the team, the regional security team that's in Mexico, they're constantly reviewing all of this information and making sure that they're making changes according to, what's recommended. And then again, you can use your own judgment. You can also review other news sites to make sure that you're aware of what's going on around us. I think that we're very lucky that here where we are, personally, I consider it very safe. I feel very safe walking on the streets. But I think, it couldn't hurt to just be cautious, even though we feel very safe. It's, we're also very close to the areas where there's a lot of violence happening right now. Okay, so my next topic, U.S. consular agencies in Mexico. I will be very brief about this. I just want to let you know that just as we have this office here in San Miguel de Allende, there are also other 9 consular agencies in Mexico. There's one in Puerto Vallarta, there's one in Cancun. If you go to the U.S. Embassy website in Mexico, you can find a list of all those other consular agencies. I know that a lot of people here, a lot of expats here may have property in Puerto Vallarta or maybe like a timeshare or whatnot. So whatever services that you can get here with us, you can also get them at those consular agencies. And again, the information that I'm sharing with you today, I would like you to share with your communities to deliver that message, to other expat members that could be in other parts of Mexico. Okay, and again, the best way to contact us at the agency if you have any questions, even if you want to make an appointment and you forgot how to do it, just send us an email. We'll send you the link. And also, unfortunately, the link to make the appointment is not an easy one. It's not like I can say just go to appointment.com. Like, it does not work that way. So if you just want some brief information, send us an email. We'll give you the right links on how to, so that you can access whatever services that you need. Okay, and then this is something that I'm very excited about. We are working with local government, Atención al Migrante, here in San Miguel de Allende, with Secretaría del Migrante at the state level. And we are organizing what is called a Fair of Services. It will be held on December 19 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I don't have the publicity on that yet, but as soon as I have it, I will email it so that you can share it with all of your members. But I would like to open this invitation to anyone who has a passport that's valid for 10 years and they want to renew it. You can drop off your application with us and pick up the passport at our office, okay? So if you want to do that, December 19, you just have to go there, bring your form, your passport photo, the payment. You can do it online, or you can also stop by the office and make the payment. So how that's gonna work, we will be having a group of about 25 applicants for regular passport appointment. This is mostly intended for immigrants who have children that were born in the U.S., and then we can facilitate them that service by coming to this Fair of Services, and we will be taking their passport application and their documents and then sending them to the consular agency to make the payment, and then they can go home. They're not able to make the payment online because the only applicants that are eligible to make the payment online are people like you who have a passport that's valid for 10 years. That's kind of the key. So basically, I don't know, have I shared the location? I don't think I've told you where it's gonna be. So it's gonna be on December 19 at Comude. I don't know if everybody knows where that is, but that's on the highway to Rodriguez. Thank you. Yes, and that's also where they were providing the COVID vaccines. I think it was a year ago, probably about a year ago. Anyway, so that's where the fair would be. I would like to see a lot of you, and if you can, again, deliver that message to other people that can benefit from these services. I know that there is going to be also representatives from the Mexican immigration authorities. So if you know, have any questions about the process to become a permanent resident, or you know someone that can get, or who has those questions, they can go there and then can get that information. I believe also Registro Civil is going to be there and some other dependencies. I think it's going to be a great event, and honestly, I'm very excited. This is the first event that we're organizing in coordination with other government authorities, and I'm looking forward to having these events more often. I also would like to go outside of San Miguel and do these events in other communities that may not have access directly to us. You know, traveling to San Miguel can be expensive if you're coming from, you know, far away, basically. So it is important for me to be able to bring the services to the communities who need it the most. But definitely here in San Miguel, I'm opening that invitation to anyone who wants to renew the passport. You'll basically be saving money on the DHL service, because we will be sending those applications to the embassy, and then you come to us to pick up your passport. Right now, passport processing time is taking about 6 to 8 weeks, so that's about a month and a half to 2 months. So that's another thing to consider. So if you want to take advantage of that, I would say come see us on December 19 at the Comune. Okay, and that's it. I would like to start with questions. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, questions? You want to start off at the front? David.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Erika. You mentioned security, maybe the elephant in the room. As you well know, we had a homicide, American citizen, okay? I had, as somebody involved in security, at least 10 different calls from American citizens asking more about it. Obviously, during the investigation, we did not have all the details, but I can tell you that quite a number of people, and I'm sure in this room, were panicking, okay? Without going into the gory details, what is the role of the council, the American council, in getting information to the citizens?
Thank you. Well, first of all, our role is to make sure that we're following up with Fiscalia, which is the prosecutor's office, to make sure that we're getting informed or updated with any developments on the case. We can't necessarily share that with the rest of the community, regardless of their citizenship, because of privacy. Okay, but rest assured that we are working with Fiscalia, and then we're also working with the family of the victims, and I can tell you that I am very satisfied with the work that the Fiscalia has done. They did let us know as soon as they knew that the victims were probably U.S. citizens, and then we started working on the case right away. And then again, I am not able to share as many details with you or anyone else because of privacy to the family members of the victims. I can tell you that the information that I have seen on the news sites, I believe it is accurate. I don't think there's anything that's been left out. And I was panicking too. In fact, before I knew that what happened, I was horrified, and I like I said to Terry, who's here, I never thought that I would deal with something like this ever in my life, and I don't know what else to tell you. The only thing that I can tell you is that again, we do have a very good working relationship with the prosecutor's office, and they have keeping us posted with everything that's going on with the case, and also what's going on with the suspect that they have in jail right now. So we are aware of that situation, and then again, that is the role of us, is to help directly with the victims, the family members of the victims, make sure that we're getting those services available to them, and then also checking with the prosecutor's office what's going on with this case. And honestly, I haven't had the need to ask the prosecutor what's going on with the case because they have been very transparent. And they have, I mean, this happened, I mean, it didn't happen on a weekend, but we were aware of the situation on a weekend, and on the weekend, I was on the phone with the prosecutor, I was on the phone with the family members of the victims, so that is my role. Regarding what, how this affects the community, I would have to leave that to the local authorities because we don't have any say on, any changes that they may make, or the only thing that we can do is check with them and ask them what's going on with this case, or or what actions are taken regarding the situation. I can tell you this is a first that I've seen since I've been here, which hasn't been that long, 3 years. But I am not concerned that this is something that's happening, constantly. So I would not be concerned about that.
Thanks.
Does the notary services require an appointment, or can we just drop in?
They do require an appointment, and again, we do have the appointments available for notary services in the month of December. You can go on the appointment system and see the appointments that are available. Once you go in the appointment system, you can see passport and notarial services. So you click on notarial services and you can see what's available. I would suggest that you go all the way to December and then see what appointments are available there. If you have an emergency, you need a document notarized, and before December, send us an email, explain the emergency. A lot of the times people just say, I need an appointment. So we're gonna say, well, book your appointment online. But if you say, I need an appointment soon because I have a deadline, which is this, then we will know it's an emergency and we will schedule that appointment for you.
I have noticed that over the last 2 years, there's been a tremendous influx of expats into San Miguel. Do you have any idea what the number is now?
I would say about a couple of years ago, I heard, and again, don't quote me on that, but I heard that the number of expats who were living here in Mexico, it was about, not in Mexico, in San Miguel, it was about 5,000, and then there was another 5,000 that they were snowbirds. And so it was, somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000, depending on the time of the year. However, I recently learned, and this is information that was reported by the immigration authorities, is that now there are about 10,000 expats living in San Miguel. So maybe those other 5,000 decided to stay. So it looks like we're up to. Also, there are a lot of people here like me who are dual citizens, and we're not accounted for. So really, who knows exactly how many U.S. citizens are here or living in San Miguel?
Okay, so I have a passport that's going to expire in July of 2025. Right? What's the earliest I can start applying to get that renewed?
You can do it now if you want. So it really doesn't matter. You can, if you have a passport expiring in 2030 and you say you want to renew it now, that's fine. The only thing is that you're gonna lose the validity on those years that you have left. I personally would say renew your passport about 6 months before it expires. It is not a requirement. This is just a recommendation, because you can renew your passport even after it expires. It really doesn't make any difference. But I personally would say renew your passport about 6 months before it expires, and take into consideration any travel plans that you may have. So if you're traveling in early 2025, maybe renew your passport in mid-2024.
So I think this question might have been answered, but in a different way. If I need to renew my passport, I can just bring it to the consulate, to you guys?
No. So you do need to make an appointment. So if you want to come to us to renew your passport, you need to have an appointment. We don't do walk-ins. The only day that I'm opening to do walk-ins would be at the Fair of Services, which is on December 19. So on December 19, you can go to Comude, so don't go to the consulate, go to Comude. That's where I will be. I will be there, my staff will be there, and then we will take your application, okay? But that's the only day that I'm opening for walk-ins. Come in, anyone can come and drop off their application. Yes, but take into consideration that right now we are booking appointments in April. Okay? Sure.
You can also review this whole video online if you have questions. If an American citizen has found help here in Mexico, be it hospice care or child care, that they find indispensable, is there a way to streamline bringing a Mexican back to the United States?
A Mexican citizen back to the U.S.? No, that would not be through us. So if it's some Mexican citizen who wants to go to the U.S. because of some medical condition, that's your question, right?
Help. Correct.
Oh, your help. I'm sorry. I didn't get that. Okay, so there is a visa category that is called a domestic employee visa. We don't do that here in San Miguel. You would need to, or your domestic employee would need to do the process either at the embassy in Mexico City or at a consulate general. So that would be Guadalajara, Monterrey, and the process is basically the same as if your domestic employee was applying for a tourist visa, which is the B1, B2. The only difference is that if you, they have to basically say who they're working for, so that would be you. You do need to have a contract. I believe that contract has to have a validity of at least a year, but the information is available also on the embassy website, but you want to look for what's called a domestic visa. And actually, I don't know if any of you follow the U.S. Embassy on Twitter or Instagram, but they recently posted information about that process. I personally haven't done it, but I do have friends that have gone through the process, and it sounds like it's easy. You don't need to be a U.S. citizen to bring your domestic employee. You can also be or have a visa. So if you have someone who's Mexican and they have a visa, a tourist visa, they can basically sponsor their domestic employee. So you don't need to be a U.S. citizen, but you do need to have a contract with your domestic employee and provide that contract for the process.
I've been asked to remind you that all of the links that Erika mentioned are on our website now, and we're going to keep them on the website for another week, so you can go directly to the Rotary website and get those links. The other thing is, Robin wants me to make sure that you're stay for cake afterwards. And now,
I'm a Canadian. I want to know if you can submit your Canadian passport and Canadian passport renewal to you to be transmitted to the Canadian Embassy in Mexico City.
No, we don't do that. Sorry about that.
I was in a serious motorcycle accident 2 years ago, and the consulate here in Mexico, and the consulate tracked me down in the hospital, in my hotel room to make sure, in my hospital room to make sure I was okay. And I just wanted to say thank you, that was unexpected and appreciated. And also just want to remind people that the announcements you were talking about from the State Department, that's something you can sign up for. Mm-hmm. So you just may talk about that briefly, because that's really important service, I think.
Yes, definitely. So the service that Eddie was mentioning is where you register to basically get emails from the State Department. And that website is actually very easy. It's just step.gov. And that's where you register, and you put in your information. You tell them the countries where you will be. If you're here permanently, you can select that, and then you will start getting emails from the embassy with information about basically everything that happens in Mexico, like hurricanes, security information, passport information. They also send information about new immigration requirements for either Mexico or the US. So it is good to register on that website and get those emails. Definitely. A step, like when you walk, step.
I have heard that if you're an American citizen and decide to get dual Mexican-U.S. citizenship, that when you do that, you lose the right to assistance from the consular office. Is that correct?
No.
No.
No,
So
no,
you
not at
got
all.
dual citizenship, U.S., Mexican, you still have full access to the consular assistance.
Oh, definitely. In fact, we do provide assistance to U.S. citizen prisoners, and I would say most of them are dual citizens, and that does not affect the situation at all. They can always decline it. You can always say, I don't want the assistance from the consulate, but we're still gonna go see you. We're still gonna go insist. Well, there's she has one more question. I think.
Actually, just a comment. I worked in immigration enforcement for a number of decades, and Erika's comment about being able to enter the U.S. at a land port of entry with an expired passport, that may be the State Department's view, but I wouldn't guarantee that Customs and Border Protection or immigration enforcement agents would accept an expired passport. Maybe they're supposed to. So I just wouldn't want your comment to be taken as I don't need to renew my passport.
Right.
If your passport's about to expire, get it renewed. It'll make
Yeah.
your
Thank you for clarifying. Definitely, yes. My suggestion to you and even to my family and my friends is always have your documents valid. Your passport, your visa, whatever, your bank card, whatever it is, have your documents valid. That is always the message. And then again, my personal recommendation is renew it about 6 months. It is not a requirement. You are right. I mean, the CBP officer at the border, they can definitely deny you entry, or they can question you there. They can interview you for hours. So it's definitely not something that we recommend. But it is also an option.
And the same for your minor children. Some people will sometimes think they can still get a child into the U.S. with nothing but a birth certificate.
Yeah.
It's not worth the hassle. Get them a passport.
She's an immigration attorney.
So thank you very, very much. Then we want to give you this coffee mug, the Rotary coffee mug, to put on your desk so you can really think about us every day. And we are also making a donation to the Polio Plus campaign, the Rotary worldwide effort to end polio. And we're donating 10 polio vaccines, our immunizations, in your name.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for coming.